Hello. Things aren't going great for me today. I've done a few takes, that's the word for take one, take two, the tries, and it's not working out so well for me. And guess what? It's about to rain. So but I really want to put out a video today. You guys are keeping me on the hook, keeping me on the hook. I'm like a fish stuck on a line, the line on the hook. I'm committed to doing these videos, and thank you to all the students who even said anything, said they watched them. And you don't, well, if you're watching this year, but thank you for the support and the feedback. I really feel supported, and it's making it easier. And so I'm not going to talk long, but what I wanted to say is that we're going to talk a lot about the plateau, the language learning plateau. And if you've had class with me, you've probably heard me talk about it. It's a point you get to. If you don't know what it is, it's a place you get to in any it's a stage of the learning process that happens in anything you're learning. There's a lot to say about it, and I think I'll just try to say more on a day when it's not about to rain. Maybe you just look it up for now, the language learning plateau, or any learning plateau. And it's something, if you've learned a musical instrument, if you ride horses, if you even maybe rode a bike as a kid and then stopped for a long time and then started up again. You may have noticed that you feel like you're terrible when you start up again, and then you start to move very quickly. And then once you reach the point you'd gotten to before, or it happens at many stages in the journey, you reach this plateau where you feel like your sense of how you're progressing is different than I would argue it's different than how you're actually progressing. You actually are improving, but it feels like you're either just walking in a straight line, or you're even going backwards. I would argue that it's sort of an optical illusion, but the feeling of making no progress, and the frustration, the insecurities, all the emotional and mental things that come from that experience lead to you not doing the thing you're trying to learn, which leads to more insecurities and more frustrations, which leads to actually possibly stopping improvement, or even actually moving backwards, which could be just a temporary thing, as long as you get over the what some people call a block. That's a whole other thing. So many of the students who I see are at one of these plateaus, and for better or for worse, they come more and more frequently the better and better you get at English. So if you're understanding this video without subtitles, or without subtitles in your native language, even if you're putting subtitles in English, you've probably experienced this, and you may have already experienced this a few times. So this topic is something I want to talk about a lot. So next week, or in a few days, I'll talk more about it. And the only thing I can say now, once again, a little bit rushed, is that it's normal. It's a good sign. It means if you can say you've reached a point in your language learning journey where you've hit a plateau, it means you've done a lot of work to have gotten there, because a lot of people quit before they got to that point. And many people quit at that point. But if you've been at that point for a while, which is probably the case, if you're understanding what I'm saying, you've probably been at a plateau before, felt stuck, felt blocked, and maybe you even feel like you've been at that place for years. Maybe you felt like you were in that place 10 years ago, and you find yourself in that place again. So just to say, it's normal, and it is a good sign, and there are things to do. The old model of English language learning that only happened in academies or in immersion, that you'd have to, where you'd have to go to the US or to Canada or to Australia. That world doesn't exist anymore. Now you can learn online. Now you have access to books in English, podcasts in English, no matter where you are, right? You have a recorder on your phone. You have AI. There are so many tools, right? But there's one thing that I think is often there are two things actually that are often overlooked and underappreciated. And they are, get ready for it, drum roll. This may not surprise you, because it's the way you learned your native language. The two things that are underrated and underutilized and underappreciated are reading and writing. So we're going to talk much more about this topic, but just for today, what to read. Okay. One thing I would recommend is do not read fiction. If you haven't read any books in English yet, if you have never read a book in English, don't read fiction to start. Start with nonfiction. And I would start with a topic that interests you. You start with a subject that interests you. So I brought a few books just to mention some. Self-help is a fantastic genre. Byron Katie's book, Loving What Is great. Another book that is about is a self-help book is Robert Fritz's The Path of Least Resistance, which this is a very old copy, but it's a fantastic book. It's a self-help book. I love self-help books, and they're a great entryway. They're a great first, it's a great first book to read, type of first book to read. Then there's books on creativity. The War of Art by Steven Pressfield. Great one. Big Magic by Liz Gilbert. A little bit. Very loved copy. This is a beloved book. All of these books I recommend. They're fantastic. Big Magic by Liz Gilbert. I'll put the names in below. You want to learn about money? Poor Dad, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Very great, good level, easy to read. Like it moves. It's not going to be easy for you, but you're going to learn a lot of interesting content, and that's what that's what will keep you going. So the idea is to pick a book where you want to learn the content, and it just happens to be in English. And because there's so many authors who are writing in English, these are not translated. These are wonderful, famous people who have YouTube channels who then you can, learn more from if you're interested in their content. And so you can kind of keep yourself on the hook in that way as well, right? So anyways, those are just a few recommendations. I hope you have a wonderful day, and see you next week. Bye.